right, hello and welcome to today's webinar presentation with Viola Eva. Viola, we could do this webinar in German, right?
That's true.
Yeah, you're from Germany, I'm from Switzerland. My name is Chris Rolfe. I'll briefly introduce myself in a second here. But today we're going to talk about how to create a powerful content strategy. There is no SEO without content. This is where most people fail. So I'm super excited to actually listen to your presentation today, Viola. You're going to teach us how to fuel your business growth online through creating a powerful content strategy. All right, so just a quick word about myself. I'm an SE ranking brand ambassador. I'm also the founder and president of Boulder SEO Marketing, an international SEO expert. I'm originally from Switzerland, moved over here to the Boulder, Colorado area about 20-something years ago. Started a company called Boulder SEO Marketing and all over the world. Enough about myself. So I am very thankful to SE Ranking. We teamed up a few years ago. I also teach online master's degree. I speak globally about search engine optimization. SE Ranking is giving my students complimentary access for the duration of the course. It's really a nice partnership that we have created, and I'm super happy to endorse SE Ranking whenever I can. It's an all-in-one SEO platform. It's now actually basically the only big tool that we use at my shop at Boulder SEO Marketing. It works extremely well. I can highly recommend SE Ranking. Give them a try if you have a chance. We just hosted a half-day SEO workshop. We had business owners, we had SEO pros, we had other digital agencies that attended this online class. They all love SE Ranking. In the survey that we created, SE Ranking got a 5-star review. So if you're one of those people there, give them a try. It's the platform that you want to use. It's the only one that we use now at Boulder SEO Marketing. All right, they ranking these rewards on a regular basis for a good reason. So again, please give them a try if you have a chance. And I think now we're going to watch a short video. All right, obviously, we all know what's going on in the world. If you have a chance, please do donate. It's much needed. So do whatever you can, right? This is a very important cause. With that being said, Viola, let me quickly introduce yourself. You're an SEO rock star. We met yesterday online. You now have offices in Germany, the USA. I definitely would love to hear from yourself just a little bit more, how you and your team tackle SEO. But today you're going to talk about how to create a powerful content strategy to fuel business growth online. You're going to share 3 tactics to brainstorm creative content ideas. I'm also excited to see the template that you'll share with us for an SEO content calendar. And you're also going to teach us how to basically better understand keyword mapping and how to avoid keyword cannibalization. With that being said, what's the one thing that we need to know about you? Over to you, Viola.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Chris. I really appreciate it. And thank you so much to SE Ranking and Elena for inviting me to the webinar today. I'm really excited. I'm based in Berlin. Flow SEO is a marketing agency focusing on SEO for software startups in the space of HR tech and e-learning. And we are what people now call a remote native agency. When we started, that was not how it was called. But yeah, as Chris explained, we're all over the world between Europe and the US. And I consider ourselves very much content marketing SEOs. So a lot of our clients win through content sites, through a good content strategy, and aligning all of the efforts that they're already doing in their blog, their landing pages, their resources, their white papers, and really putting all that in and forward for the SEO strategy. I've spoken and published about SEO in many spots and places. And so if you want to learn more about my SEO philosophy, I think a quick Google search will give you all that you need. Quickly to contextualize the webinar today is, I always say SEO consists out of 3 pillars. The first pillar being the technical foundation that allows for Google to crawl and index your site, which is really just your ticket to participate in the game. Then you want your content to create relevance. Simply speaking, Google is a text-based crawler. If you did not write about a topic, you can also not rank for the topic. And then thirdly is backlinks, which is other websites linking to you to create authority. And this is very similar to what we're seeing today also on social media algorithms. If your Facebook post gets more likes, more people are seeing it. Similar logic in Google. If more people link to your site, it's ranking better. And so today's webinar is really focused on that middle section on content, because that, again, that point of like being relevant, talking about important topics is kind of like crucial for everything that comes from that. And when I say relevance, I already said one thing. I said, one, Google is a text-based crawler, which means Google crawls first and foremost words. And then secondly, Google is a crawler. So Google estimates relevant based on ranking factors, right? It's a human. It's not a human. It's a crawler. And so it has a very mathematical understanding of language, and which is why it's so important that we're very structured and very precise on how we build our website, which means this is an example website about food. And there's really that one best answer to the search query banana. And there's that one best answer to the search query apple. And so this is kind of like the background when I talk about relevance and structure in the eyes of Google. It means being very clean and precise in how we build our website. And that's what we're going to be discussing today. Yep, you will learn 3 tactics to brainstorm content ideas. You will get my template for the content calendar. And in that light of like structure, we will talk about keyword mapping and how to avoid keyword cannibalization. So feel free to ask all of your questions in the chat. I'm always excited about audience questions. For me, that's the best part. And then we will do 3 strategic pauses between the 3 sections to kind of like give space for me to answer these questions. And then we'll have a Q&A section in the end as well. But really don't feel like you have to wait with your question until the very end. You can start, typing away straight away. Does it work? Flow SEO, one of our clients, Beekeeper, just got shortlisted for a European Search Award for Best B2B SEO. And so kind of like as your social proof, as you know, like do the strategies that I'm teaching work, at least they work so well that we got shortlisted for the European Search Award. And so I'm quite excited about that. All right. Let's talk first about brainstorming content ideas. And there's many ways to go about it. So whether you have an existing website or you're building a new website from scratch, I assume there's always certain topics that you do want to talk about. Yeah, you probably want to talk about your services or product, or if you have product or feature updates, or you might want to talk that you won an award or you've been featured in this newspaper, etc. And all of these are like valid conversation pieces and content ideas. But we want to make sure that you also get those juicy, evergreen ideas that are the most helpful for SEO. And so there's 3 ways that if you're looking at a blank screen and you're trying to start brainstorming ideas, that you can go about it. Number 1 is reviewing your existing content. And the reason why this is so important comes back to this idea of relevance. If you already have an existing article about a topic, it is way, way better for SEO to keep working on it, optimizing and updating it, than creating a second article. And so, for example, if you have an article about Easter gifts on the website and you wrote it in 2019, you're better off updating that article about Easter gifts for 2022 instead of creating a new one. Because if you do have a new one, you have 2 pages competing with each other. And so your existing content is really an amazing starting point for content ideas, content optimization. There's many more sophisticated ways to do a content audit, but here's what I would call is like the quick and dirty content audit. And there's like 2 ways to do it when you don't want to spend that much time, but want to get kind of like the 80-20 of what are the pages that you can update. The first one is here, kind of like the screenshot on the left side is you can go into your Google Analytics, then go to behavior and then landing pages, and then add the organic segment, and then add your goal, whether that's a newsletter sign up, a contact form. And that is kind of like the easiest way to roughly see what are the pages that are getting the most traffic overall and what are the pages that are getting the most organic traffic. And usually the hot ones for content updates are the ones that get maybe 50, 100, or 200 clicks or so a month, which tells you Google is kind of liking it. They're sometimes sending organic traffic there, but you're probably not in the top 3, like winning all of the search volume. And so again, it's probably not the most sophisticated way to go about this, but it is like the rough and dirty approach to figuring out what are some pages that are worthwhile updating. The other one that I think is very helpful is like looking at your search performance in an SEO tool. And so you can go to SE ranking, competitor research, but instead of entering a competitor, you're entering yourself. And then you basically look at the organic traffic research report and look at pages. And then again, you can also see in the keyword column what is currently getting traffic, what currently has rankings, and it's a good starting point to figure out what could you be improving.
Hey, Viola.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I have a great question from Hans Knapp. So if you update an article, so I completely agree with you. That's what we do. That's what's working, right? If you update an article, should you change the update the publishing date as well? How do you approach, updating, like trying to an evergreen piece of content?
Yes, perfect. Yeah, I'll also later share like a list of things that we check when updating content. But generally speaking, I tell people it's like, first, check your media, like your images, your videos, are they still up to date? Then check, do you have any statistics in there? It's like you're telling a story about something in 2017, does it need to be updated? Then you want to do the more SEO-y things. You want to look at your keyword placement in the page title, in the headline 1, in the first paragraph. And so you're making all these tweaks. And then when you're done with that, you publish it on the same URL, but with an updated publishing date. And so you want to avoid URL changes in most of the cases. Keep publishing it on the same URL, and then I'm all for updating the publishing date, especially now that Google sometimes pulls the date into the search results. People want to see that this is a recent article. We don't really want to read a piece from 2016.
Exactly. Cool. Thank you.
And so when you're looking at your existing content, just a few questions to ask yourself. What has traction with SEO? And traction with SEO means there's probably a little bit of traffic trickling in. You may be hovering on page 2 or 3 of Google, or on the bottom of page 1. Sometimes when you're looking for pages to update, it's also interesting to look what are the keywords that are performing for you in Google Ads. And then you might want to consider like giving that related SEO piece a facelift as well. Because if it's converting in Google Ads, you probably have an interest to also rank it in SEO. And so I like that cross-pollination as well. And then one consideration is also if you haven't updated a page, if you have a page that is doing well or semi-well, but you haven't updated it in 2 years or so, probably just that facelift, that keyword optimization and republishing can give them a nice lift. And so tip number 1 when thinking about what content to write is like look into the stuff that you already have and optimize the ones where Google is reaching their hand and make sure that they're better and they're actually becoming winners. Number 2 is, what is everyone else in the space really doing? So competitor analysis. I mentioned before, like we just won that search award for the campaign with Beekeeper. And so Beekeeper is an employee app / workforce management tool for non-desk workers. Non-desk workers mean people, they're not knowledge workers. They're people who work in retail, in manufacturing, in hospitals, etc. And so Beekeeper wants to rank for all workforce management related terms, operational productivity, internal communication, staff management, and, as part of their SEO strategy. And they do have direct competitors like Staffbase or Dynamic Signal that are similar software tools. And so it absolutely makes sense when you're thinking about competitor analysis, looking at other players in the field and looking what are they writing about, what are they publishing on their blog, what are they ranking for, and seeing if there's things that are useful. But when we think about competitor analysis for SEO, don't stop at the people that have exactly the same product or service and exactly the same business model, because there's other people going after your same keywords as well. And so, for example, in the case of Beekeeper, there's a big HR tool called Personio. It's not specifically for non-desk workers. It's not in the same industries, but they do want to rank for same keywords such as workforce planning or turnover calculation. And so in SEO perspective, Personio is very well a competitor going after the same topic and keywords, even though they don't offer the same solution. Or even more, there's a great HR blog called People Managing People, which that is a magazine, that is a media company. Again, doesn't offer the same product in the end, but very much wants to rank for the same topics and keywords. And so when you think about competitor analysis, don't stop with the 3 or 4 or 5 people that do exactly the same thing. Look what are the other, players in the field, and analyze them as well. And what I like to do when I think about competitor analysis is creating a swipe file. This is a screenshot from our swipe file, this is actually our clients and not our competitors, but I wanted you to get the idea. And so when you see that a competitor is doing a topic well, basically collecting all of the URLs and then the type of page that they have, and then that can be, the foundation for your keyword research, for your content planning moving forward. And it also means that you will never run out of new ideas, because again, when you're looking at a blank content calendar, you can always go to that swipe file and look for ideas of cool content. And so I think a very simple structure that is just the URLs of other people and then the type of page that they've created is a good format to start collecting those ideas. So I'm a lot in the space of software marketing and B2B SEO, but this is equally true. So these are B2B examples, but this is also true if you're working in B2C. So if you're have consumers directly buying your services or product, look out for topics that have what people like to call transactional intent. And so it's very interesting to see what a competitor is doing in this space as well. And so I think in the space of B2B, there's a few kind of topics that I like to see is are other people ranking for that. For example, RFP, procurement, vendors, providers, such stuff as software tools, solutions, system platforms. For example, project management solutions sounds much more like an enterprise, searching for that topic than if we say project management app or to-do app sounds more like a consumer, which means if you're a consumer product, you might be looking more at app than you want to be looking at solution or platform.
Hey, Viola. Mm-hmm. Actually, I do have a question. You spoke about before, or let's say if you optimize a new website from scratch, will you generally go for longer tail keywords at the beginning, or are you going to go straight for high search volume short tail keyword? Well, what's a good strategy if somebody has a new website? What would you recommend?
Right. So I think if you have a brand new website, you probably have a few things. You have your homepage, which in most cases I think will be optimized for your brand name. Then you probably have a few product or service pages. So for example, SEO services Berlin, or you will have project management software, etc. You will have a few product or services pages. I would probably keyword optimize them just for the sake of getting into the mindset of strict keyword mapping and optimization, knowing very well that probably in the next couple of years, I'm not going to be ranking for this. And so I think optimizing your product and service pages on a brand new website is more an exercise of getting into the SEO mindset than really trying to rank for it next week. And then once you kind of like know, okay, this is my focus, then I would focus more on building out your blog, your pillar pages. And this is when you want to go really like long tail. And so instead of saying project management, maybe you want to be like project management for construction. And you really, you want to go kind of like target industry specific, long tail, how-to guides, questions, etc. And the way I like to think about it is you will absolutely start with the lowest possible keyword difficulty ever, where probably the search volume is also low, and you want to get some wins early on. And then once you have maybe your 20, 50, 100 organic visitors per month, you can get a teeny tiny bit more ambitious. And then you make it maybe to 1,000 organic visitors per month. You can get a teeny tiny bit more ambitious and kind of like build your authority over time.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. And then the other thing when creating your swipe file of competitor ideas is also keeping an eye out. What are competitors are getting links for? Because again, that one tells you about competitiveness, but it also tells you something about your chances for what are articles and topics that could be collecting links for you too. All right. Do you have any other questions on creating a competitor swipe file?
No, a general topic. At my agency, we've seen a ton of issues with customers that are in the your money, your life segment with Google. It's now it's so hard to get medical, anything that impacts your life, your money, etc. To optimize, see results for these customers. It's gotten really hard, and we now generally actually stay away from taking on these type of clients because they're going to fire us in like 3, 4, 5 months down the road because they don't see results. What would you recommend if somebody is in that space, your money, your life, anything that impacts somebody's happiness, money, life in general? What would be?
Yeah, it's tricky. It's tricky. I think because you're battling with two things. It's like, one, you're potentially a brand new site, and then B, you're in a space that is like very complicated right now. And so I think your best bet is, again, keyword research, kind of like customer research, going really, really long tail, and not just long tail, actually going to that point where the keywords that you want to target, you add them into your SEO tool and you check, is someone else on page 1 a website like mine? So basically, even if the keyword is long tail and only has 20 searches a month, and you think I should be able to win this, if you only see Healthline, government sites, you're probably still not going to make it. And so I think that extra looking on page 1 and seeing if a small niche content site is ranking there is necessary to determine if you have a chance.
Yeah, and so we use SE Ranking, the SERP analysis tool, to really dig deep, right? We do a search for the keyword like medical device, blah, blah, whatever it is, and then take a look, what's their domain, trust, authority, etc. What are the backlinks, etc. And we're super selective now in taking on these medical clients or that fall into this category. So if you are in that space, I think you need to do a lot of research, especially if you're a brand new website. It's extremely important to get this right. Let's see, Jose. Oh, that's a good question.
CBD, yeah, I see a lot of kind of like affiliate site SEO sites still ranking in the CBD space, but I do think that Google will get stricter and stricter on this. And so even if it's not a full swing problem today, I think this will very much be CBD will very much fall under kind of like your money, your life, and you will need the EAT expertise, authority, and trust there. I think, yeah.
really good point. So we're in the Boulder, Colorado area. This is known to be a hotspot for cannabis, right? So we do work with some cannabis companies. It is very challenging, right? So we actually have to do a lot of off-page optimization. Definitely, I'd love to hear, Viola, from you. We highly leverage Google Business Profile. We do a lot of digital PR. Actually, I'd love to hear from you in terms of digital PR. What would you recommend, in terms of a content strategy, digital PR? Go out there, do a lot of off-page optimization. I mean, if you're in that space, you absolutely have to do digital PR, a lot of off-page optimization, right?
Yeah, I guess to be honest, I'm not the best person to ask in terms of like local SEO and how that looks like. But I think you're on the money in terms of like collecting good quality links, collecting mentions, collecting brand mentions, because again, these has like a bonus points, I think, for trust. The more other people talk about you, and you can get that attention. But yeah, I wouldn't consider myself an expert on how to do that locally.
So we do a lot of local SEO. I mean, we see it's extremely important, like, to build that trust outside of your website. So don't just focus on your website. If you're in that space, you're gonna have to get out there to try to do speaking engagements, do press releases, get links, through publishing content on other websites. Yeah, so that's what we do.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's helpful for everyone. And this actually kind of like nicely ties into what I was about to say next, is like, how can you find like creative content ideas that maybe some of the SEO tools haven't fully picked up yet? And this is really like the customer research and seeing like, what are people looking for, in the comment section of your social media posts, in online reviews. What is the language that they use when they file, a customer support ticket or, a customer request? Reading through forums and Reddit threads, customer surveys. And again, if you see a lot of Quora, Reddit on page one, you probably also have a chance of ranking compared to seeing Healthline and government sites on page one. And so I think that step out of your SEO tool and that qualitative research, what are people talking about, can uncover some really good long tail content ideas. And then especially if you answer a question really well and you're one of the few ones, and people might actually naturally link to you for answering that question.
So we do have a pretty good question here from Olivia Wilson. Thank you for putting that question in. Can you give any advice for handling the whole content marketing process as a small team with little to no budget? Quality content takes so much time. Yeah. Welcome to, this is the problem. Like, this is why people come to us, right? I mean, we do charge money for our services. Not everybody can afford, you or me and my team. What's your recommendation?
Right. Yeah. Well, I would say you're come to the right spot. So I think at the end of the webinar, you will know how to find content ideas, how to do a content calendar. You will have a checklist for writing content. And then I think if you have too little to no budget, I think what is going to make or break your content production is finding a content writer. And so I'm not sure where you're based, Olivia, but if you have a super low budget, you might want to look outside the US and Western Europe and kind of like see where can you globally find someone that you can work with, that you can educate about your product and your market, and that can build that relationship, and someone can write for you content consistently. But figuring out that person that can write is going to be crucial, because my assumption is if you're a tiny marketing team and you're the founder or marketing manager and you're essentially a one-man, one-woman show, you're not going to find the time to write 1 or 2 blog posts a week. It's just not going to happen. As much as you want to, as much as you're trying to make it happen, it's just with all the responsibilities that you have, if there's only 2 or 3 people in the team, it's just not likely. And so figuring out one content writing relationship that you can reliably work with and get the ball rolling, in my opinion, is going to make or break this. But in terms of like process, you're in the right spot.
Cool. And so we're getting really good questions here. If you don't mind, Viola.
Yeah, let's do some.
Cool. We know that. Also, I looked at Twitter as a ranking signal.
Do you know if that's true, Chris? I don't know if that's true that Google looks at Twitter as a ranking signal.
I don't think it's a confirmed ranking
Right.
signal, but I would say it's probably a soft confirmation that I can give, because once we publish a new piece of content for ourselves or our clients, we tweet it. It gets immediately indexed in Google's database. I mean, Google takes a very close look at it, right?
Yeah.
And more recently, we actually saw that Google now also does sort of like similar thing with Facebook. It's a gated place, Facebook still, for Google. So it's a little bit less important than Twitter for us, but we see that Facebook is working more and more. I'd love to hear if you see this.
Well, my assumption is I don't think that Google will ever make a competitor's company a crucial part of their ranking algorithm. Like, I don't think Google as a business wants to be in the position where their search results is dependent on someone like Facebook. And so, yes, maybe there could be a small part how that like contributes, but I really don't think that Google as a business is interested in being reliant on another platform to produce their search results. But what I think is what you said, Chris, is like I mean, their backlinks, their social mentions, etc. They bring referral traffic, potentially like users, etc. And so, in terms of creating a website that looks natural, that gets referral traffic, that gets direct traffic, that gets mentioned, etc. You definitely want to build that social universe around it. But I personally, don't think that Google will make that decision to rely the algorithm on another company. And then, do you have any tips and growth hacks on types of content that we should be creating? Well, one, I would say Google, again, is still a text-based crawler first and foremost, which means that the SEO advice that I'm giving and that I'm mainly talking about are articles and words. This might vary, though, based on the type of products or service that you offer. If you're a fashion or lifestyle brand optimizing for Google image search, or trying to also get your YouTube video on page one, might be much, much more important than it is for software companies that we work. People are not typing performance management software in the image search and converting. This might be different if you have fashion or lifestyle product. And so the way I would think about it is look on page one, see what you see there. Do you see a bunch of videos there? Do you see a bunch of images there? In this case, you want to optimize that as well. Podcasts are a notoriously fickle thing to do, optimize for SEO. I just published a blog post about it. So if you go to flow-seo.com/blog, you can read my opinion on this. But podcasts are not an easy beast.
All right, cool. Here's a really good question that I'd love to also chime in. Do you consider AI writing tools to be useful in content production? Love to hear your thoughts on this, Viola.
Again, you can also find my opinion on my blog. In short, I think the AI tools get significantly better, especially last year. I think even 3 years ago, no one was seriously considering the content AI tools because they were just not good. The leap of technology in the last year really made that a serious consideration. I still think a lot of the content reads quite robotic. I have one client who rolled it out at scale and did not have very good success with it, but that is just like one example. So that could mean everything and anything. I think the AI tools are best used for like repetitive tasks. So think you're an e-commerce store with 10,000 products and they all need a unique page title and meta description that is not the one from the manufacturer, because everyone else is using the description from the manufacturer and it's all duplicate content, and you don't have any unique content to stand out in the search results. This is when I think the content AI tools can be powerful. Or you have like 500 forgotten meta descriptions or so. This is where I like to use them, but happy to be challenged on that, Chris.
Yeah, no, I agree. So we're using a AI content development tool right now. We're going to probably stop using it. Simply, John Mueller of Google, he actually just talked about it and he said, look, it's not good enough right now. We will detect it. So don't just use it as is. Edit the content.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
If you need to crank out a ton of content, use tools, but a human has to edit it. That's what we're doing. But I think we're hiring more and more writers. that's where the quality is. But not everybody is in that position that they can have, X amount of writers. So if there's a way that you can incorporate it into your process, still edit it manually, then I think it works. So we're having a lot of awesome questions here.
We have also, I could totally keep going on this. Let me maybe run through a couple of slides so we make some progress there, because we're pretty far in. But then I love the questions, everyone. If it was to me, we could continue with questions, all day long. But all right, let's talk about creating a content counter, because now you have all these content ideas, your own pages that you want to update, you have a cool swipe file, you looked into, you've done your customer research, and now you have like a bunch of stuff. And now you need to turn this into an action plan and move forward. And so quickly we'll show you, this is how I want the content counter to look in the end. And so I always have that column where I have the topic and main keyword first. Then we have the type of page that we're creating. Is this a pillar page, a blog post, a landing page? Then we have the supporting keywords that all live on the same page as the main keyword. And then just for the client to kind of remember, why did we choose certain keywords? We put the search volume and the difficulty of the main keyword. We tell if it's a page to update. And then from there, the content counter basically moves into content operations. We ask the client to approve the topic, and then we provide them with a content briefing. And then content briefing, basically, we tell them, okay, in which order are we writing that, in which month? And then we follow up, in which month did the content get published. And so you might still want to get, a project management tool like a Trello or Asana involved in this to manage the actual tasks. But this content counter basically tells people, these are the topics, this is the order in which we're writing, this is the month we're writing them in, and this is the detailed content briefing. So this is all the stuff that's in there. And the idea is kind of to consolidate a wild list of ideas into one clear action plan. And so I consider content brainstorming or keyword research, I consider that very much the analysis phase and research phase. And at some point, we got to start researching and we got to start doing. And this is what the content counter is. And I will quickly pop into the chat the link for the template.
Oh.
And so you can copy that. And then just quickly before we go is what is really, this is to your question, Chris, it's what is a low difficulty keyword, right? Is because in our competitor analysis, etc., we might have found a bunch of topics that Hootsuite is ranking for, or Neil Patel is ranking for, or HubSpot. And it might be a great topic that fits you, but it's so difficult and competitive because they've been up there for 5 years. Each of their articles has 400 links. It might seem like a good idea, but you're probably not going to rank for it. And so what is a low difficulty keyword that you as a business can realistically rank for? And so what I like to do is I pull all the keywords that my clients are currently ranking in the top 3 for. So top 3 means Google is loving them, they're ranking well, they're relevant. And so I pull all the keywords that are currently in top 3 for. I remove the branded terms, because you should really be ranking for your brand term. That is not a goal. If you're not ranking for your brand term, it's a problem. But ranking for your brand term, I think, is not a goal. And so I take all the top 3 queries that are non-branded, and then I calculate the average keyword difficulty. And that tells me, typically, when we target a keyword with that level of competitiveness, then we probably can also try to rank for a similar keyword with another keyword with a similar difficulty again. There's a few caveats. Again, like Chris mentioned before, it's you do want to look on page 1. If page 1, again, is full of government sites or newspapers, or everyone is ranking with a landing page and you want to publish a 5,000 word guides, that tells you that something is still off. But I think that average keyword difficulty of your top 3 is a pretty good indicator whether realistically you can go for that keyword or topic again or not. Chris, do you have a comment on picking low keyword difficulty keywords? Do you have certain techniques around that or something to add?
Man, I mean, we look at the difficulty, but generally speaking, I don't care that much about it, because I think with BERT and MOM, the recent algorithm updates, everything changed. And actually, I'm going to talk in an upcoming webinar about this. So we don't really care about difficulty anymore. We've figured out basically how to get even micro websites to outrank the biggest websites for really high difficult keywords. That I think has changed over the last 6 to 9 months. So I personally, we're always up for a challenge, but yes, I do think it helps taking a look at the difficulty. It's definitely way more thorough. But for us, it's not that important. I guess that's my long-winded answer.
Yeah, and I think you said a lot of things that I agree with, which is like creating the most relevant answer to the search query with a content type that is appropriate, for sure.
Yeah, and also BERT and MOM, they have changed a lot. So yeah, I think it's less important than before, now that Google is getting better at understanding context, pulling information from various sources, various languages. Yeah, that's my opinion.
Agreed. And then, by the way, so Lubricity Innovations asked, how would you recommend a swipe file for a product or service that is brand new to the market? I like that question, because basically what you're saying, it's so new that people are not searching for it yet. So I might not know who my competitors are, or there might not be a magazine writing about this topic. And so I think in this case, you got to figure out what is the language or solution that people are looking for when thinking about the problem today. What I mean by that is you probably have the product or service because there is a problem. And so people might not be looking for the exact thing that you're offering, but they're probably looking for solutions to the problem. And just to drive that point home, is like people might be looking for, what can I do against back pain? Because they're like me, they spend all their time on the laptop and they have back pain. And so that shows that they're problem aware. But the problem of back pain can be solved with different things. It can be solved with buying a laptop stand, buying a standing desk, going to an osteopath, going to acupuncture, like working out in a certain way. And so you got to figure out, if the people don't have the language yet, acupuncture or a standing desk, but that's what you're offering, you got to figure out, how are they talking about the problem and what are they researching around the problem today? And then kind of like build from there. And then also one ask, Luke, what is the lowest keyword volume you would consider to write content for? I love it. I'm going to give you the stupid consultant answer, which is it depends. And it basically depends on how important that keyword is for your business. And so let's say if SEO for software startups with content marketing focus in Berlin, has 20 searches a month, I might still want to rank for that, because that is exactly what we offer. That is exactly the client I want. It shows me that they're ready to get a service provider, and the chance of conversion is really, really high. And so I might want to rank for that, because the intent is just so valuable to me that I'm happy to write a piece of content. If someone types for how to best optimize a JPEG image for SEO if I'm using Photoshop, I will probably not write for the keyword, because that is so far removed from my services and product. The path to conversion is so far and long-blinded that I'd rather put my energy on a keyword that has more search volume or is closer related to the thing that I'm offering. But yeah, there's no absolute lowest. I would never do it, especially not with the things that I'm doing, which is like B2B tech buying, which is very complicated. Search volume is incredibly low, but if the search intent is right, I would definitely go for it. All right. All right. Maybe I run through the section of keyword mapping, keyword cannibalization, and then basically I think we do another round of questions.
Perfect.
The reason why I want to talk about keyword cannibalization is because that is the number one mistake that I see my clients make. They might have a good idea actually about selecting keywords, optimizing for keywords, but somehow it still seems to be the mindset that if I use the keyword more often, that is better. Or if I write about the same topic more often, that is better. Or it might be simply a result of their thought leadership or product marketing strategy, is that some topics come up over and over again. And so I often see it with clients that they have 2 or 3, 4 or 5 articles about the exact same topic, leading to keyword cannibalization, which essentially means you're confusing Google. So instead of just competing with every single website on the web, you're also competing with yourself. Let me quickly jump to this. And so instead of having that one best page for the search query banana, you have 5. And so if Google is looking for your page banana, it doesn't know which one to pick. And so how do we avoid this is essentially, if the keywords satisfy the same search intent, we want to map them on one page. And this is also different from how SEO was 10 years ago when Google barely understood synonyms. But Google is smart today. It does understand that apple pie recipe for apple pie, is the same thing. And that's satisfying the same search intent, and we can map it to the same page. And so if you want to consolidate everything I've ever taught about SEO, everything I know about SEO into one thing, I would say 1 page per keyword cluster, 1 keyword cluster per page, which means you want your page targeted and focused. And this is just, again, due to the fact that Google largely ranks on a page-by-page basis. And so this is why you want to make it so targeted and so focused. Here's an example. Unilever's sales page is optimized for employee experience platform. And you can see that they rank for a variety of keywords that are along the same lines: employee experience platform, digital workplace experience, employee experience software. And so we can see that people are looking for the same thing. And so Google is rewarding it with rankings with the same page, and which means that if you do this well and you optimize well, one of your pages can rank for hundreds of keywords very easily. As long as they all satisfy the same search intent, it belongs to the same keyword cluster. Also, as someone asked if there's an SE ranking difficulty score, so yes. Another example, People Managing People has an article, Choosing the Right Performance Management System. And again, you can see that it ranks, management system performance, management performance system, performance management systems, etc. And so that idea that keywords that belong together all live on the same page is really, really important when you plan your website structure. And to kind of drive the point home, is 2 companies who've done this really well is the tool, performance management tool Culture Amp. And so again, if you put them in the competitor review part of the SE ranking tool, you can see basically the top performing pages, and then you can see the URL structure. And when you click into the keywords they rank for, you can see that really neatly their articles rank exactly for what they're supposed to rank. And so they rank for funny jokes in the workplace, office games, diversity in the workplace. You can literally look at the well-written, short, keyword-optimized URL, and you can already see what is the article about, and the keywords that are ranking accordingly. Same with workforce training tool Edumi. And I know that this is sometimes hard to follow because it seems so strict and structured and mathematical and abstract. And then again, this is because this is how Google is. And I think getting that part right and making sure that all the keywords that you want to rank for have that one specific and best home on your website, it's really, really crucial. And it is increasingly important. With Chris mentioned some of the latest algorithm updates, which Google is getting better and better at modeling language. And the clearer we can basically reflect that on our website and make sure that related concepts kind of live in the same part of the website, are interlinked properly. Again, it's this idea here that all your fruits articles, lives in the fruit part of the website, showing Google the relationship between these concepts, where all your vegetable articles live in one part of your website. And so spending some extra time kind of like thinking about this when picking your URL structure and when picking your topics is going to be super, super important. And so, just want to give you that. It's like, I know that we all have favorite topics, but if you do want to write about the same topic again 6 months later or 12 months later, back to the original idea, you want to update that page that you already have. You want to make it better, fresher, better optimized, better media elements, and then publish on the same URL instead of creating a second, third, fourth article, making them all compete with each other.
And Viola, just quickly, this question, I think this is what this is all about. I think this is like the biggest mistake people make.
Absolutely.
It's not organized at all. It's a mess. You will not succeed, right?
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, and it's also, it can lead to disappointment because you're writing so much content, but you're never ranking. And so it can lead, you're doing a lot of work, but you're not ranking, and that can feel very frustrating. And so Christine also asked, do you have any tips for tech software startup? It's really difficult at the moment because there are so many tools out there already. And so I would actually say, so you can follow me on LinkedIn for kind of like in general, like SEO versus demand generation efforts. But I would go as far as say it's like, until you have product market fit and you know exactly whom you're for and whom you're selling to, maybe you're also not ready for SEO yet. Maybe you want to focus on your dark social, on your demand gen activities, on your sales activities until you're crystal clear who you are and whom you're serving in which way. And then once you have that clear, you probably want to, again, start very long tail and very niche. And so instead of being performance management software, which it's super crowded, there's amazing players that we've just seen that do SEO really well. There's G2 there's Trust Radius, they're all on page one. It's like figuring out what are the long tail variations that you can go after. It's like performance management for customer support teams, or performance management in the construction, performance management in manufacturing, etc. And you probably will have to go so niche and specific to, again, start getting momentum. And then the more momentum you get, the more rankings, the more organic traffic, you can become increasingly more competitive. All right. And then Fresh Analytics asks, if you're using a pillar post skyscraper technique strategy, how do you manage keyword cannibalization? I think pillar and skyscraper for me, so I would say a pillar page means it's kind of like a cornerstone page, but I think there's actually different type of pillar pages. And sometimes a pillar page is a skyscraper article, which means it's a long form 10,000 words guide. And in this case, you probably want a lot of the keyword variations to rank on that page. And so you probably want performance management. What is performance management? Performance management definition, performance management best practices. You probably want to house that all on that long form skyscraper article. And then the universe around it, again, is other questions and long tail articles. And so that might be more than performance review examples. It's an article that can live in that pillar, but has a different keyword and focus than your skyscraper guide.
And then, so if I can add one thought here. So honestly, what we're seeing with these latest algorithm updates, backlinks are actually becoming less and less important. So we're getting pages to rank where we do the skyscraper, we call it micro SEO strategies, simply by creating the best possible content around, a cluster of keywords. We're actually outranking the biggest companies in the world without even having to do crazy link building, right? Do the skyscraper stuff. That's what we're seeing over here.
Perfect. And this ties to the question that also Anthony asked about, what is the right advice? Are we creating long pages or short pages? And which perfectly leads me into this kind of like final section in the last 5 minutes, a word on writing good content. Like, what does it mean to actually write good content, right? So far, we've very much looked at SEO. We looked at whether are the people ranking for, what do we want to be ranking for, what's the difficulty of the keyword. We've been very much in the SEO mindset. And before you start to sit down and write, I would like for you to put your content marketing hat back on and think about what is really the architecture of a good piece of content. And I think a good piece of content has 3 components and lives on the intersection of 3 components. And the first component is, what do you want to talk about? What do you stand for? What is your story? What is your vision? And a good way to double check that is, if you were to copy and paste your article on a competitor's website, would anyone notice that it's in the wrong spot? Or is it just all same? So, first part is like, what is really our story about this? Second part is like, what are our audience wants and needs, and what do they desire? And reading 5,000 words is not always what they desire, depending on, what they're trying to do. And then the third part is the ranking factors, your keyword optimizations, your average word count on page 1. All of that is important, but it's only one part of the equation, and it doesn't make up the entire success formula. And so I will also quickly put in the chat our SEO content best practices, which that, again, I would say is also kind of like our rough and dirty 80-20 of SEO list, which kind of tells us we're writing a new article, we're updating an article, what should we be looking for SEO? And then to close out, here's all the links that I've had in the presentation in one slide. And this is me. Yeah, feel free to say hello via my email or look on our blog. And otherwise, Chris, I think we have 3 minutes to answer some final questions.
Wow, great job. This is awesome. Let's see. Let's tackle a few more questions. There was I think a question from Hans Knopp again. Backlinks. Broadly, the topic of buying backlinks. What are your thoughts, backlinks these days?
Look, I think people make the idea of buying backlinks, people somehow often make that like an ethical problem. Like, you're like, oh my God, you're a black hat SEO that's like somehow unethical. I just want to clarify, it's just against Google's guidelines. I don't necessarily think it's an ethical problem. And so I think for most people, it's a matter of like risk tolerance. And so I think you can make an educated business decision around the value you're expecting from your paid backlinks versus the risk of getting penalized. If you buy backlinks very stupidly, I think the risk of you getting penalized is extremely high. Some people buy backlinks smartly. I think the risk is not so high. I'm personally not willing to take the risk. But yeah, I think... again, I don't think it's a moral decision. And so I'm kind of indifferent. I think it depends on what type of site you're working with. I think for most people that have a business that's meant to still be around in 3 years and 5 years and 10 years, it's probably not the best option. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many creative ways, digital PR. Yeah, I mean, you're paying to put out a press release, right? I mean, there's influencers in your space, I think use those strategies instead of just buying backlinks. It is against Google Webmaster Guidelines, so you will potentially get in trouble. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I don't know if.
And just quick, Andrea asked on if this all applies for a lifestyle blog as well, and the quick answer is yes.
Okay. Perfect. Let me see. Here's what if the keywords we want to rank for on the first page of Google, they're only results by magazines or blogs? Do we have a chance at that? There's also a lot. Google loves to rank directories now. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, I would say it depends. Blogs, I don't necessarily consider that a problem. If by magazine you mean Huffington Post, New Yorker, New York Times is on page 1, this is becoming a little bit of a problem. So I would say first is, do we have other opportunities that are more obvious and probably easier to rank for? And this way I would probably then go for that. And this is a problem because now New York Times is constantly, for example, writing about remote work and hybrid work policies. And these are all keywords that I have clients that want to rank for. And all of a sudden, the New York Times is on top of them. And that's depressing. And so, yeah, first I would say is like, if everyone zigs, can you zag? Is there a topic that you could be writing about where they're not there? And otherwise, I think it's what Chris been saying. It's like, can you do a piece of content that is like objectively better than what they're doing?
Cool. We're 47 seconds over time here.
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
Yeah. Gosh, thank you so much, Viola, for giving this presentation here today. I think here's our closing slide. So if you want to give SE ranking a try, again, it's the tool that we're using at my shop, Bold SE Marketing. Couldn't be happier with it and the results that we're getting for our customers and our own shop. Just scan that code real quick. You won't be disappointed. Also in the chat, there's a link to where you can sign up for the complimentary subscription to give it a try. Gosh, with that being said, I think we're nearly 2 minutes over time here. Viola, any last closing words of wisdom here?
Well, I would say, yeah, 1 keyword cluster per page, 1 page per keyword cluster, and most importantly, have some fun with it. You know, I enjoy SEO. I hope you can too. And so, yeah, looking forward to seeing you around, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody, for your interest. A lot more great webinars coming up. Keep in touch with SE Ranking, and we'll see you soon. All right. Stay safe and healthy. Thanks, everybody.